Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and I am so pleased to have our guest today and the topic that we're going to be talking about. Dr. Craig Spellman is both an MD and a PhD. He's professor and associate dean of research at Texas Tech University Health Science Center, but he's also a specialist in diabetes, and this is something that we really need to get more information about. He's the director of the Center for Diabetes and Metabolic Disorders, and he's also the director of the Medical Center Hospital Diabetes Clinic. And he's been here for about 5 years, and I want to, Greg, for you to give us a little bit of your background before we start on this wonderful topic we're going to be talking about.
Well, good morning, Johnny. I usually just say I'm a Texas boy and I fix sugars.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I should have had that line.
Yeah. I started out a few years ago. Actually, I was like 10, 15 years with the NIH. Then I was pathologist for 10, and then I switched into endocrine, and I've been doing this now for about 25, 30 years. So don't tell anybody, but we're both about the same age.
Yes, except
okay.
You're in much better shape.
Yeah. Anyway, about myself a little bit. I guess I should start with a shout out to some of my weightlifting buddies over there in Midland.
That's right.
I owe Kevin Keith, the fireman, and Jay Marquise, who's our youth pastor, and some of the guys.
And you can keep up with all of them. You don't get behind the door for any of them, do you?
Well, depending upon who's doing the talking,
Well,
I'm
true.
real good. If they are, they're real good. Anyway, we were going to do a little bit of health discussion today and focus on a topic of diabetes.
Diabetes, and one of the reasons that I'm so interested in this is because I've had a diabetic in my family, and I know what an insidious disease this is, and how prevention is the thing that we really need to hammer on. And so, but before we get started, I want you to talk about what's the very best way to predict your health.
Predict your health. How healthy you're going to be. You're going to live to be old. You're going to be in good health when you're 70.
Start thinking about that.
Like downtrending by the time you're, that most people are 39, retired, but don't know it.
Because
unless you're hustling and keep moving around. But you could do a lot of medical tests. You can do, doctor visits, hospitals. But there's a real simple way to predict just how well you're going to do, how well you can predict your health. And because our topic today is diabetes, I'm really going to focus a lot on what diabetes is. We use it as a word and we all think sugar. But you know what? Diabetes is, in my mind, I think of it as a code word for heart attack. I think of diabetes as a code word for stroke, kind of a code word for problems with your kidneys, your nerves, tummies, eyes. In fact, it captures everything. And so since high sugar is a hallmark of diabetes, but diabetes really predicts what's going to happen to every major organ system, is there a good way to predict that? And recently, we have finally come around to asking, why don't we just ask how high have your sugars been over the last 3 months? And there's a test called A1C. Okay, quiz question. What is this test called?
A1C.
Good. If a person with diabetes comes in and doesn't know their A1C, it drives me nuts. Okay, but why not test a person's A1C and just see if it's high, normal, because it's a good way of asking.
An indicator for
absolutely. And then what correlates best with that? Weight. Absolutely. So it's the body mass index. You can get an A1C. Body mass index. It's sort of, if you do, your ratios like when you're in 7th and 8th grade. It's kind of a ratio of how much do you weigh to how tall are you. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics on calculating it, but the magic number's 25. 25 or less, BMI, good. BMI more than 25,
bad.
Not good. BMI more than 30, bad. Weight to your height. It's called body mass index. It's very simple. If you wanted to calculate yours, don't do it. Just go to the internet. Just look up, say, what is BMI? And it'll tell you. There's a real easy way of remembering it. Okay, 5 feet, 5 inches, 150 pounds. If you're 5'5", 150 pounds, your BMI is 25. If you're 5 pounds up, your BMI went up 1. If you're 5 pounds under that, your BMI goes down 1. So that would be, you know, kind of an off-the-cuff way of asking.
So if you're 5'5", then your maximum weight should be 150.
Right.
And if you're 5'6", your maximum weight should be 155. And you're for 5'7", 160.
160, right.
And is it the same for women as men?
Pretty much.
So if you were 6'5", then you would just add that many fives times.
And yeah, it's not perfect. There's no perfect way, but it's not bad. It's a pretty good indicator. And the reason that we like it is because the BMI will predict what's going to be your chance of getting diabetes. It'll predict, is your A1C, the diabetes test, going to be up? It'll predict, is your cholesterol high? It will predict, is your blood pressure going up? I mean, look at all the other things you can do and cost you money and tests and visits and time off from work when all you really need is your BMI.
But one of the things that you need to know as you're looking through this is if you know I'm 5'3" and I weigh 150, then I know that I've got a problem, so I'd better do something about it. Then you're saying immediately start working on your weight.
That's right. Abs, I got a six-pack.
I know.
Abs start in the kitchen. It's real simple.
Not in the weight room, but in the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that we need to think about. And so we're saying that when you go to the doctor, you want your A1C test, but when you're sitting at your dinner table, you need to go in and weigh yourself and find out that way. We're going to have to take a quick break, but we're going to come back in just a minute and continue this conversation. We've got so much to talk about. We'll see you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.